We would like to take an opportunity to recognize that to acknowledge that tonight's performance is being held on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. At this time, we would like to ask all audience members to please turn off their cell phones. Thank you. And now, please enjoy the Laramie Project.
At the start of the interview, he was sitting behind his desk. Sitting a little something like this. I was born and raised here. My family's a third generation. My grandparents moved here in the early 1900s. We've had basically three, well, my daughter makes the fourth generation. Quite a while. Good place to live. Good people. Lots of space. Now, all the towns in southern Wyoming are laid out in space because of the railroad came through. It was how far they could go before having to refuel and rewater. And Laramie was a major stopping point. That's why all the towns are spaced so far apart. We're one of the largest states in the country, and the least populated.
There's so much space between people and towns here, so much room for reflection.
Rebecca Hilliker, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming.
You have an opportunity to be happy in your life here. I found that the people here are nicer than in the Midwest, where I used to teach, because they were happy, they were glad the sun was shining, and it shines a lot here.
What you have is you have your old-time traditional type ranchers. They've been here forever. Laramie's been the hub of where they come for their supplies and stuff like that.
Stewardship is one thing all our ancestors taught us.
Eileen Engen, rancher.
If you don't take care of your land, then you ruin it and you lose your living. So, first of all, you have to take care of your land and do everything you can to improve it.
I love it here.
Doc O'Connor, limousine driver.
You could put me back in that mess out there back east. You know, best thing about here is the climate, the cold, the wind. They say Wyoming wind will drive a man insane, but you know what? It don't bother me. I mean, okay, sometimes it bothers me, but most time it don't.
And then you got the university population.
I moved here after living in a couple of big cities. Philip Dubois, president of the University of Wyoming. You know, I loved it there, but you have to be out of your mind to let your kids play out after dark. But here, in the summertime, my kids play till 11 at night, and I don't think twice about it.
And then you have the people who live in Laramie, basically.
I moved here from rural Texas.
Zach Sandman, Laramie resident.
Now in Laramie, if you don't know a person, you'll definitely know someone they know, so it can only be 1 degree removed at most, and for me, I love it. Oh, you know, I love going to the grocery store because I get to see 4, 5, 6 people I know every
people know my business. I don't really care because what's my business? My business is basically good.
I like the trains too. You know, they don't bother me. Okay, well, fine, sometimes they bother me, but most of the time they don't. Even though one goes by my house every 13 minutes out where I live.
Doc actually lives up in Boston, but everybody in Laramie knows it. He's also not really a doctor.
Them trains. You know, they used to carry cattle. Now they carry his diapers and cars.
It's a good place to live. Good people. Lots of space. Now, when the incident happened with that boy, a lot of press people came here. And one time, some of them followed me out to the crime scene and, well, it was a beautiful day. Absolutely gorgeous day. Real clear and crisp. And the sky was that blue that, you know, you'll never be able to paint. It's just sky blue and it's gorgeous. And the mountains in the back with a little snow on them. And this one reporter, lady person that was out there, she said,
Well, who found the boy? Who was out there anyway?
and I said, well, this is a really popular area for people to run, and mountain biking's real big out here, horseback riding, it's just, well, it's close to town. And she looked at me and said,
Who the hell would want to run out here?
and I'm thinking, lady, you're just missing the point. You know, all you gotta do is turn around, see the mountains, smell the air, listen to the birds, just take it all in. And they were just nothing but the story. I didn't feel judged. I felt that they were stupid. They're missing the whole point. They're just missing the whole point.
It's hard to talk about Laramie now. To tell you what Laramie is for us.
Jedediah Schultz.
If you would have asked me before, I would have said Laramie's a beautiful town. Secluded enough that you can have your own identity. A town with a strong sense of community. Everyone knows everyone. A town with a personality that most larger cities are stripped of. But now, after Matthew, we've become a city defined by a crime. We become Waco, we become Jasper, a noun, a definition, a sign. Now we can get rid of that, but it'll sure take a while.
Journal entries. Members of the company. Andrew Paris.
Moises called saying that he had an idea for his next theater project, but there's a certain somberness to his voice. So after it was all felt, and he said he wants to do a piece on what was happening in Wyoming.
Stephen Belvin.
Lee told me the company wanted to go down to Laramie to conduct some interviews, and that they wanted me to come, but I'm hesitant, you know. I have no real interest in trying to encounter Belvin.
Amanda Garnish.
I've never done anything like this in my life. How do you get people to talk to you? What do you ask?
Moises Kaufman.
Today, the company has agreed that we should go to Laramie and interview some people. I'm a bit afraid about taking 10 people with this trip of this nature. We must make some safety rules. No one works alone and everyone carries cell phones. I've made some preliminary contacts with Rebecca Hiller, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming. She's hosting a party for us our first night in Laramie and has promised to introduce us to possible interviewees.
I must tell you that when I first heard you guys were thinking of coming here, you know, when you guys first called me, I wanted to say, you just kicked me in the stomach. Why are you doing this to me? But then I thought, you know, that's stupid. You're not doing this to me. And more importantly, I've decided that we've had so much negative closure on this whole thing. And the students really need to talk. You know, when this first happened, they did talk. And then the media descended and all dialogue stopped. You know, I really love my students because they're free thinkers, and you might not like what they have to say, and you might not like their opinions because they can be very redneck. But they're honest, and they're truthful. So there's an excitement here, there's a dynamic here that you wouldn't find out in the Midwest or in North Dakota, because out there there's so much Puritanism that dictates how people look at the world that half the time they don't have an opinion. You can't get them to express an opinion. And quite honestly, I'd rather have opinions that I don't like and have that dynamic in education. Oh, there's a student I think you guys should meet. His name's Jedediah Schultz.
I lived in Laramie my whole life. My family's been here for, well, generations. So when it came time for me to go to college, my parents couldn't afford to send me. I want to study theater. So I knew that if I was going to go to college, I was going to have to get a scholarship. So they had this competition each year, this Wyoming State High School competition. And I knew that if I didn't take first in duets, I wasn't going to get a scholarship. So I went to the theater department of the university and asked him to press it. And I'm like, I need a killer scene. And he's like, here you go. This is it. And it was from Angels in America. And so I read it, and I knew that I could take first place if I did a good enough job. So when time came, I told my mom and my dad to come to the competition, and you have to understand that my parents, they come to everything, every ball game, every hockey, everything that I've ever done. And they took me to the room, and they sat me down, and they told me that if I did that scene, they wouldn't come and see me in the competition because they thought that it was wrong, that homosexuality was wrong. They felt that strongly about it, that they don't want to come see their own son do probably the most important thing he had done to that point in his life. So I didn't know what to do. I was kind of nervous because I'd never gone against my parents' wishes before. But I decided to do it. And all that I can remember from the competition is that when we were done, me and my scene partner, we came up to each other, we shook hands, and there was a standing ovation. And man, it was amazing. And we won, and we took first place. And that's how come I can afford to be here at the university, because of that scene. And to this day, that is the one thing my parents didn't see me do. And thinking back on it, I think, well, why did I do it? Because I thought, okay, so why did I do it? And I guess the real honest answer I can give is that I wanted to win. I mean, it was such a good scene. It was like the best scene. You know Mr. Kushner, maybe you can tell him.
Company member Greg Criotti.
We arrived today in the Denver airport and drove down to Laramie. The moment we crossed the Wyoming border, I swear I saw a herd of buffalo. Also, I thought it was strange that the Wyoming sign said, Wyoming, like no place on earth, instead of Wyoming, like no place else on earth.
Company member Lee Fonikowski.
I stopped at a local inn to grab a bite to eat, and my waitress said to me, "Hi, I'm Debbie, and I was born in 1954. And Debbie Reynolds was big then. So, yes, I love us around, but I probably saw slapping you leave your elbows on the table."
Today, the company has tried to explain to me to no avail what chicken fried steak was.
Now, are you all from Wyoming, or are you just passing through?
We're just passing through. Company member Barbara Pitts. We arrived at Laramie tonight just past the Welcome to Laramie sign. Population 27,204. The first thing to greet us was a Walmart. In the dark, we could be on any main drag in America. Fast food chains, gas stations. But as we drove into the downtown area, by the railroad tracks, the buildings still looked like a turn-of-the-century western town. Oh, and as we passed the University Inn, on the sign where amenities such as heated pool or cable TV are usually touted, it says, "Hate is not a Laramie value." Greg Karate.
I met today with two longtime Laramie residents, Allison Mears and Marge Murray, two social service workers who taught me a thing or two.
Well, what Laramie was like when Mark was growing up, well, it was mostly rural.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it, you know. All my kids and horses.
Well, there was more than, I mean, you could keep your cow, horse, your little chickens. You know, just have your little bit of acreage.
You know what I could do? I could go around the house, doing the chores and my all together. So, while the kids were in school, and no one would see
In Laramie, there's a difference, and there always has been. What it is a class distinction between the well-educated and the ones who aren't. And the ones who are don't understand why the ones who aren't don't get educated, you know? That's why I told you my kids had to fight because their mother was a bartender. Never mind that Adam is the best damn bartender in town. And that is not bragging, it's just facts.
But here in Laramie, if it weren't for the university, look, we'd just be SOL.
What's SOL?
Look, you'll have to say it. It's shit out of luck!
What was your response when this happened to Matthew Shepard?
Well, I've been close enough to the case to know a lot of people. My daughter's at the sheriff's department. Well, as far as the gay issue, well, I don't give a damn one way or the other, you know, as long as they don't bother me, and even if they did, I just say, no thank you. And that's the attitude of most of the Laramie population, you know? They might, I don't know, they might poke one, smack one in the mouth, you know, they've been drinking, they were in a bar situation, but then they just whistle on about their business, you know? Laramie is live and let live.
I'd say Marge probably knows a lot more, except she's even willing to say, and we have to respect her for that.
Now, where are you going with the story anyways?
Oh, well, we still haven't decided. When we finish, we're gonna try and bring it around to Laramie.
Oh, well, then there's some things I won't tell you.
SOL. Come on, Marge, you said all together. Company member Andy Harris.
Today, for the first time, we met somebody who actually knew Matthew Shepard. Trish Steger, owner of a shop in town, referred to him as Matt.
Matt used to come into my shop. That's how I knew him.
It was the first time I had heard him referred to as Matt instead of Matthew. Did he go by Matt to everyone?
Well, the second I got called, I got a phone call about 10 after 7.
Doc O'Connor.
And it was Matthew Shepard, you know, and he says, can you pick me up on the corner of 3rd and Grand? So I pulled to the corner to see this Matthew Shepard, you know, and it's a little guy. He's about 5'2", soaking wet, 95 pounds tops, you know. They say he was 110 in the papers, but I wouldn't believe it. They also say he was 5'5" in the papers, but this man was really only about 5'2", maybe even 5'1". So he walks up to the window, and actually, before I move on, I like to speak in parts here so you can better understand the principles of this man. So he walks up to the window, and I says, are you Matthew Shepard? And he looks at me, and he says, yeah, I'm Matthew Shepard, but I don't want you to call me Matthew or Mr. Shepard. My name is Matt, and I am gay, and we are going to a gay bar. Do you have a problem with that? And I looked at him and I says, how you paying? The fact is there are no gay bars in there. Well, actually there are no gay bars in Wyoming. So he was hiring me to take him down to Fort Collins, Colorado, about an hour or so away. Matt was a blunt little shit. You know, he was straightforward, all right? Maybe gay, all right, but straightforward. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know, you know, how does any one person ever tell about another? You should really talk to my sister Romaine. She's a very close friend now.
We never called him Matthew, actually. Most of the time we just called him Choo-Choo. You know, because we called him Matthew, and then we just started calling him Choo-Choo. And whenever I think of Matthew, I always think of his incredible beaming smile. I mean, he'd walk in and he'd just be like, you know? And he'd smile at everyone. It just made you feel great. And he would like stare people down in the coffee shop. Because because he always wanted to sit on the end seat so he could talk to me while I was working. And if someone was sitting in that spot, then he would just sit there and stare at me until they left. And then he would claim a spot. But Matthew definitely had a political side to him. I mean, he really wanted to get into political affairs. That's all his big interest was watching CNN and MSNBC. That's the only TV station I ever saw his TV tuned into. Yeah, he was just really smart in political affairs, but like, not so smart on common sense things. So he moves to Laramie to go to school.
Matt was very shy when he first came in. John Peacock, Matthew Shepard's academic advisor. To the point of being somewhat mouthy, I must say, he was having some difficulties adjusting. But this was home, and he made that quite clear. So his mouthiness and shyness gave way to a person who was excited about this track he was going to embark on. He was figuring out working on human rights, how he was going to do that. And when that happens, this person begins to bloom a little bit. He was starting to say, there are things I can do in this world. There are opportunities here. I can be important.
I did hear from Matthew about 48 hours before his attack. And he told me he had joined the gay and lesbian group on campus, and he was really enjoying it. You know, he was getting ready for Pride Week and whatnot. Yeah, he was just totally stoked about school. He was really happy about being there.
And in retrospect, and I can only say this in retrospect, of course,
I think that's where he was headed, towards human rights.
Which only adds to the irony and tragedy of this.
Let me tell you something else here. There's more gay people in Laramie that meets the eye, and I know this for a fact. You know, particularly, what do you call them, the queens? No, the gay people, queens. No, they're the ones that throw hate, jump on horses, random, and kick ass. And I was always saying, don't fuck with the woman queer. Because they will kick you in the fucking ass, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, I know a lot of people in Laramie. Alright, well, I know a lot of gay people in Laramie too, and I don't think that people here give a damn one way or another if you're gay or straight. And that's just what I said. It doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying?
My understanding when I first got here, is that I was the first out gay or lesbian faculty member on campus, and that was in 1992, so that wasn't that long ago. I was asked in my interview what my husband did, so I came out then. Do you want to hear a funny story? When you first get here as a new faculty member, there's all these things you have to do, and so I was in my office and I noticed that this woman called, and I was expecting, health insurance phone call, something like that, and so I called her back. And I could hear her, she's working on her keyboard, clicking away. And I said to her, this is Catherine Conley returning your phone call. And she said, oh, it's you. And I thought, this is bizarre. And she said, I hear you're gay. I hear you are. And I was like, uh-huh. And she said, I hear you came as a couple. I want to, not a couple, just a person. And so she was the kind of lesbian who knew I was coming and wanted to come over and meet me immediately. And she later told me that there were these other lesbians that she knew who wouldn't be seen with me, that I would irreparably taint them, that just to be seen with me could be a problem.
When I first came here, I knew it was going to be hard as a gay man.
Jonas Slonaker.
But I kept telling myself, people should live where they want to live. And there would be times I would go down to Denver and I would go down to gay bars and people would ask me where I was from and I'd say, Laramie, Wyoming. And I met so many men down there from Wyoming. So many gay men who grew up there. And they're all like, this is not a place where you want to live. How can you live there? I have to get out. All that stuff. But there will always be this guy. Oh gosh, I miss Laramie. I really love it here. And that's where I want to live. And I'm like, if that's where you want to live, then do it. I mean, imagine if more gay people stayed in small towns. But it's easier said than done, of course. Today we are moving from our motel and headed for the Best Western.
Moises Kaufman.
My hope is that it is the Western.
Amanda Brodich.
Today we divided up to go to different churches in the community. Moises and I were given a Baptist church. We were welcomed into the service by the Reverend himself, standing at the entrance to the chapel. This is what I remember of the service that morning.
My dear brothers and sisters, I'm here to bring you the word of the Lord. Now, I have a simple truth that I tell to my colleagues and I will tell it to you today. The word is either sufficient or it is not. Scientists, they tell me that human history of the world is 5 or 6 billion years old. After all, what's a billion years, give or take? The Bible tells me that human history is 6,000 years old. The word is either sufficient or it is not.
The sociology of religion in the West.
Stephen B. Johnson, Unitarian minister.
Dominant religious traditions in this town, Baptist, Mormon, they're all over the place. They're not just in Salt Lake, you know, they're everywhere. They're like jam on toast down here.
The Mormon church has a little different thing going that irritates some folks. Doug Law, state ecclesiastical leader of the Mormon church. And that is that we absolutely believe that God still speaks to man. We don't think it just happened and some folks wrote it in the Bible. God still speaks to us today, and we believe that. We believe that the prophet of our church has the authority to receive inspiration and revelation from God.
So the spectrum would be on the left. So far left I'm probably sitting by myself, me, and the Unitarian Church. The Unitarians are by and large humanists, many of whom are atheists. I mean, we really go for even a religion. And on the right-hand side of the spectrum, Father Roger, a Catholic priest who's well-established here. He did not equivocate at all when this happened. He held the vigil for Matthew that night.
You know, I was really jolted when this happened because when we did the vigil, we wanted to get other ministers involved. And so we called some of them, and they were not going to get involved. And it was like, we're just going to stand back and wait and see which way the wind is blowing. And that angered me immensely. We are supposed to stand out as leaders. I thought, wow, what's going on here?
God has set boundaries. And one of our responsibilities is to learn what is it that God wants. So you study scripture, you look to your leaders. Now you know what the bounds are. So now you know what the bounds are. You sort of get a feel for what's out of bounds. There's a proclamation that came out on the family, and a family is defined as one woman and one man and children. That is a family. That is about as clear as you can state it. There's no sexual deviation in the Mormon church, no leniency. We just think it's out of bounds.
I warn you, you'll be mocked. You'll be ridiculed for the singularity of your faith. But you let the Bible be your guide. It's in there. It's all in there.
Christian pastors, many of the more conservative ones, like to use the Bible to say, it says here in the Bible, and most Christians believe that the Bible is the Word of God. And I'm gonna fight that.
I am a Biblicist, which means the Bible doesn't need me to be true. The Bible is true whether I believe it or not. The word is either sufficient or it is not.
I arrived in Laramie on the 15th of September. I looked around, tumbleweed, cement factory, and I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing in Laramie? 3 weeks later, I found out what the hell I was doing in Laramie.
I had breakfast this morning with a university student named Dabeer Abdul-Azeez. She is an Islamic feminist who likes to do things her own way.
I've lived in Laramie since I was 4. Yeah, my parents are from Bangladesh. 2 years ago, because I'm a Muslim, I decided to start wearing a scarf. And that's really changed my life in Laramie. Yeah, like, when I go out, people will ask me things like, why do you wear that thing on your head? Like, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not looking to give Islam 101. You know what I mean? So, I'll be like, well, it's a part of our religion. And then they'll be like, this is the worst part. Because they'll be like, oh, I know it's a part of your religion, but why? And it's like, how am I supposed to go into the whole doctrine of physical modesty and my spiritual relationship with the Lord when I'm just standing there with my pop and chips? You know what I mean?
Hello? Yes, hello. My name is Amanda Gronich, and I'm here in Laramie working with a theater company. I went to the Reverend, your husband's church on Sunday, and I was extremely interested in speaking with the Reverend about some of his thoughts about recent events.
I don't think he'll want to speak to you. He has very biblical views about homosexuality. He doesn't condone that kind of violence, but he doesn't condone that kind of lifestyle either, you know what I mean? And he was just bombarded with press after this whole thing happened. And the media has just been terrible.
Oh, I know, I really understand. It must have just been horrible.
Oh yes, I think we're all just hoping this goes away.
Do you think maybe I could call back and speak with your husband just briefly?
Well, all right. Call back tonight at 9 o'clock.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll do that.
Today, Barbara and I went to the Fireside Bar, which was the last place Matthew was seated in college.
The Fireside definitely feels like a college bar with a couple pool tables and a stage for karaoke. Still a few regulars in the late afternoon were hardly the college crowd.
First person we talked to was Matt Nicholson, the owner.
My great-great-grandfather moved here in 1862. He owned Laramie's first opera house. It was called the Old Blue Front. And in 1870, Louisa Grandma Swine passed the first woman's ballot in any free election in the world. And that's why Wyoming is the equality state. So what I want to do is reestablish my bar business as the Old Blue Front Opera House and Good Time Emporium. I want to have a restaurant. I want to have a gift shop. I want to have a pool hall and do all this shit, you know? Every night, ladies' night. So the Fireside is the first step towards Old Blue Front Opera House and Good Time Emporium.
So, what about the night after Shepard was here?
We had karaoke that night. One of your security people here, Matthew, came in, sitting right there, just hanging out. If you want to talk to somebody, you should talk to Matt Galloway. He was the kid that was bartending that night. You have to meet him. His character stands for itself. Hey, is Galloway bartending tonight?
Okay, I'm gonna make this brief, quick, get it over with, but it will be everything. Factual, just the facts. Here we go. 10 o'clock, I clock in, usual time, Tuesday night. 10:30, Matthew Shepard shows up, sits down, orders a Heineken.
Phil LeBrie, friend of Matthew Shepard. Matt likes to drink Heineken. Nothing else. Heineken, even though you have to pay $9.50 for a six-pack, he always buys the same beer.
So what can I tell you about Matt? Well, if you had 100 customers like him, it'd be the most perfect bar I've ever been in, okay? And nothing to do with sexual orientation. Absolute mannerisms, manners, politeness, intelligence, taking care of me, as in tips. Conversation, dressed nice, clean cut, everything. Some people you just don't. Sits down, please, thank you. Offers intellect within their vocabulary. So he kicks it there. Didn't seem to have any worries or like he was looking for anyone, just enjoys drinking the company around. Now approximately 11:45, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson come in. I didn't know their names then, but they're the accused. They're the perps.
They're the accused. They walked in just very stone-faced, you know? Dirty, grungy, rude, gimme, that type of thing. And they walked up to the bar, and as you know, paid for a pitcher in dimes and quarters, which is something that, I mean, you don't forget. You don't forget that. $5.50 in dimes and quarters, it's a freaking nightmare. Now, Henderson and McKinney, they didn't seem intoxicated at all. They came in, they just ordered a beer, took the pitcher with them back there into the pool room, and kept to themselves. Next thing I knew, probably a half hour later, they were kind of walking around. No beer. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to ask them if they want another one. Because obviously they just paid for a pitcher in dimes and quarters, and I have a real good feeling they don't have any more money.
Romaine Patterson.
Money meant nothing to Matthew because he came from a laundrette, and he would hand over his wallet in like 2 seconds because money meant nothing. His shoes might have meant something. They can say it was robbery. I don't buy it. For even an iota of a second.
And then a few moments later, I looked over and Aaron and Russell had been talking to Matthew Shepard.
Aaron said that a guy walked up to him and told him he was gay and wanted to get with Aaron and Russ, Kristen Price, girlfriend of Aaron McKinney, and that he got aggravated with it and told him he was straight and didn't want anything to do with him and walked off. He said that is when he and Russell went to the bathroom and decided to pretend they were gay and get him in the truck and rob him.
Okay, no. They stated that Matt approached them, that he came on to them. I absolutely, positively disbelieve and refute the statement 100%. Refute it. I'm going to give you 2 reasons why. One, character reference. Why would he approach them? Why them? He wasn't approaching anyone else in the bar. Oh, they say he was gay. He was a flaming gay. He's gonna come on to people like that. Bullshit. He never came on to me. Hello. He came on to them. I don't believe it. And 2, territorialism is the word I'm going to use for this, and that's the fact that Matt was sitting there. Russell and Aaron were in the pool area. Upon their first interaction, they were in Matt's area, in the area that Matt had been seeing all night. So, who approached who by that?
And Matt was the kind of person, like, he would never not talk to someone for any reason. If someone started talking to him, he'd just be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. He never had a problem just striking up a conversation with anybody.
Matt did feel lonely a lot of the times, and me knowing that and knowing how gullible Matt could be, he would have walked right into it. The fact that he was at a bar alone without any friends made him that much more vulnerable.
So the only thing is, and this is what I'm testifying to, because, you know, I'm basically the key eyewitness in this case. Basically, what I'm testifying to is that I saw Matthew leave. I saw 2 individuals leave with him. I didn't see their faces, but I saw the backs of their heads. At the same time, McKinney and Henderson were no longer around. You do the math.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the DJ was the last one to see Matthew on his way back in. Gave him a cigarette or something. His name is Shepard. I was the last person to see Matthew before he left the fireside. You know, I was bullshitting around my shit, and he stopped me. Nah. I stopped him, and he was like, hey, Shadow. And I was like, what, man? You getting ready to leave? And he was like, yeah, man, you know, this and that. And so we talked for a while, and I saw these guys outside, and they were looking at Matt, and Matt was looking at them, and you know, I didn't think much of it. And so 10 minutes goes by, and you see them guys outside, you see them getting sort of anxious or something, I guess, to leave. And so when they did leave, I seen it. It was a black truck. It was a small black truck, and they all sat in the front seat, and Matt sat in the middle. And you know, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think guys were gonna be like that. A friend of Aaron McKinney.
I've known Aaron a long time. Aaron was a good kid. I liked Aaron a lot. That's why I was shocked when I heard all this. I know he was living out far at his trailer house when he told me he was his girl. Yeah, they just started dating last summer. They must have gotten pregnant as soon as they started dating because they had a kid. He was only 21 years old, and he was running around with a kid. See, that's the kind of way he was always like. Just like he always wore like big clothes, like Half figure, Polo, Gucci. Ever since he was a little kid, always trying to fit in, acting tough, acting cool. But of course, he would get in his face about it, and he'd just back down, like he was some kind of scared kid.
Sherry Anderson. Russell was just so sweet. I mean, he was the one who was the Eagle Scout. His whole presence was just quiet and sweet. So of course it don't make sense to me. And I know people snap or whatever, and it really wasn't an intimate relationship. I was just his landlord. I did work with him at the chuck wagon too. And I remember at the Christmas party, he was just totally drunk out of his mind. Like, we were all pretty much just party time. And he wasn't belligerent. He didn't change. His personality didn't change. He was still the same little meek Russell. I remember him coming up to me and saying, Sherry, when you get a chance, can I have a dance? Now, we never did get around to doing that, but I just want to shake him, you know? What were you thinking? What in the hell were you thinking?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
The fence. I've been out there 4 times. I've taken visitors. It's become somewhat of a pilgrimage site. That's clearly a very powerful, personal experience. To go out there, you can't help but picture Matt sitting there for 18 hours in nearly freezing temperatures. It's so stark and so empty. And the God, my God, why have you forsaken me, comes to mind.
Phil Labrie, a friend of Matthew's, took us to see the fence this morning. I broke down the minute I touched it. I feel such a strong kinship with this young man. On the way back, I made sure that no one saw me crying.
Greg was crying on the way back.
Leave House.
I couldn't bring myself to tears, but I felt the same way. I have an interview this afternoon with Aaron Kreppels. He's the one who found Matthew out there on the fence. I don't know if I'm up for it right now. I'll see if someone else can do it. I took off on my bicycle about 5 p.m. on Wednesday from my dorm. I just kind of felt like going for a ride. So I went to the top of Cactus Canyon, and I'm not super familiar with that area, so on my way back down, I didn't know where I was going. I was just sort of picking the way to go, which now, it just makes me think that God wanted me to find him, because there was no way I was going that way. So I was in some deep ass sand, and I wanted to turn around, but for some reason, I kept going. And I went along, and there was this rock on the ground, and I just drilled it. I went over the handlebars and ended up on the ground. So I got up. I was just kind of dusting myself off, and I was looking around, and I saw something, which ended up to be Matt. And he was just lying there by a fence, and I just thought it was a scarecrow. I was like, Halloween's coming up, thought it was a Halloween gag, so didn't think much of it. So I got my bike and walked it around the fence that was there.
and I noticed his hair. And that was a major key to me. Noticing it was a human being was his hair. Because I just thought it was a dummy, seriously. I even noticed the chest going up and down. I still thought it was a dummy, you know? I just thought it was some kind of mechanism. But when I saw the hair, well, I knew it was a human being. So I ran to the nearest house. I ran as fast as I could and called the police. I responded to the call.
Officer Reggie Flutie. When I got there, at first the only thing I could see was partially somebody's feet. So I got out of my vehicle and I raced over. I seen what appeared to be a young man, about 13 or 14 years old, because he was so tiny, lying on his back, tied to the bottom end of a pole. I did the best I could. The gentleman who was lying on the ground, Matthew Shepard, was covered in dry blood, and there was dry blood underneath him, and he was barely breathing. He was doing the best he could. I was going to breathe for him, but I couldn't get his mouth open. His mouth wouldn't open for me. He was covered in, like I said, partially dry blood, and blood all over his face. The only place where he didn't seem to have any blood on him, on his face, was where he appeared to have been crying down his face. His head was distorted, you know, it did not look normal. He looked as if he had a real harsh head wound. I was working the emergency room the night Matthew Shepard was brought in. I don't think that any of us can remember seeing a patient come in that condition for a long time. Those of us who've worked in big city hospitals, yes, we've seen this. But we do have some people working here who've not worked in big city hospitals, and it's not something that you'd expect here. I mean, you expect it. You expect to see this type of injury from a car going down a hill at 80 miles an hour. You expect to see gross injuries from something like that, this terrible, horrendous thing, but you don't expect to see this from one person doing it to another. The ambulance report said it was beaten, so we knew.
There was nothing I could do. I mean, if there was anything I could have done to help him, I would have done it. But there was nothing. And I was yelling at him at the top of my lungs, trying to get something out of him. Like, hey, wake up! Hello? But he didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't anything.
He was tied to the fence. His hands were thumbs out in what we call the cuffing position, the way we handcuff. He was bound with a real thin white rope. It went around the bottom of the pole about 4 inches up off the ground. His shoes were missing. He was tied extremely tight, so I used my boot knife to slip it in between the rope and his wrist. I had to be extremely careful not to harm Matthew any further.
Your first thought is, well, certainly you'd like to think that if somebody from out of town comes through and beats
We rolled him on his left side. And when we did that, he quit breathing. Immediately, I rolled him back on his back. And that was just enough of an adjustment. I finally had the room to cut him free there. I seen the EMS unit trying to get to the location. Once they got there, we put a neck collar on him and put him on a backboard and scooted him from underneath the fence. Then Rob drove the ambulance to Iverson Hospital's emergency room. Now, the strange thing is, 20 minutes before Matthew came in, Aaron McKinney was brought in by his girlfriend. Now, I guess he had gotten into a fight later on that night back in town, so I am working on Aaron, and the ambulance pulls up with Matthew. Now, at this point, I don't know there's a connection at all. So, I'll tell Aaron to wait so I can go and treat Matthew. So there's Aaron in one room of my ER, and Matthew in another 2 doors down. Now, as soon as we saw Matthew, it was very clear that his care was beyond our capabilities. We called the neurosurgeon at Cougar Valley Hospital, and he was on the road in an hour and 15 minutes, I guess. They showed me a picture. Days later, I saw a picture of Matthew Shepard. I would have never recognized him. Then 2 days later, I found out the connection, and I was very, very struck. They were 2 kids. They were both my patients, and they were 2 kids. I took care of both of them, of both of their bodies. For this brief moment, I wondered if this is how God feels, how we are all His children, our bodies and our souls. And in that moment, I felt a great deal of compassion for the both of them.
This is John Peacock, Matthew's academic advisor. The news reports came trickling in Thursday, but no names were mentioned. The brutality of the crime was not mentioned. All that was mentioned was that there was a man, a Laramie man, found beaten out on the prairie, basically. Later that evening, they mentioned his name. It was like, this isn't the Matthew Shepard I know. This isn't my student. This isn't the person I've been meeting with.
I was in the coffee shop,
Romaine Patterson.
and someone pulled me aside and said, I don't know much, but they say there's been a young man who's been beaten in Laramie. And they say his name is Matthew Shepard. And he said, do you think this could be our Matthew? And I said, well, yeah, it sounds like it could be our Matthew. So I called up my sister Trish, and I'm like, tell me what you know. I'm just like, I need to know anything you know because I don't know anything.
I'm talking with my sister on the phone, and that's when the story came up on Channel 5 News, and it's like a boom, and news reports came rolling out. Young University of Wyoming student, his age, his description, and it's like, oh my God! And I felt sick to my stomach. I felt instantly sick to my stomach, and I had to tell my sister Romaine. Yes, it was Matthew, it was your friend.
Well, I'll tell you what's overwhelming.
Matt Galloway.
Friday morning, I first find out about it. I go to school, walk out, boom, there it is, in the branding iron. So immediately, I drive over to the nearest newsstand, buy a Laramie boomerang because I want more details, buy that. Before I can even open the paper, my boss calls me. He says,
Did you hear about what happened?
yes,
Well, was he in the bar Tuesday night?
yes, he was.
You've got to get down to the bar right now. We've got to talk about this. We've got to discuss what's going to go on.
And by this time, I was starting to get upset, but the severity of the
afternoon. Rulon Stacy at Cooter Valley Hospital. I got a call. We just got this kid in from Wyoming and it looks like he might be the victim of a hate crime. We have a couple of newspaper reporters here asking questions, and so we agreed we needed one spokesperson. As CEO, I'll do it, and we'll try and gather all the information that we can.
And then I was watching the 10 o'clock news that night, where they started speaking of the nature and the seriousness of it.
So I'm on the phone with Mickelson, and he's like,
We've got to go down to the arraignment so we can identify these guys and make sure these guys were in the bar.
so we go to the arraignment.
Our focus here today turns to Laramie, Wyoming, and the Alameda County Courthouse, where Aaron Jason Kinney and Russell Arthur Henderson are being charged for the brutal beating of Matthew Shepard, a gay University of Wyoming student.
The arraignment was on Friday, right around lunchtime, and I said, I'm just going. So I took off. It was just down the street, so I walked a few blocks and I went. Has anybody told you about the arraignment? There are probably 100 people from town and as many news media. By that point, a lot of the details had come out. The fact that the perpetrators were kids themselves, local kids that everyone from around here had some sort of relationship to, and what everyone was, I think, waiting on pins and needles for is what would happen when the perpetrators walked in. And what happened? There are probably about 200 people in the room at this point, and they walk in their complete orange jumpsuits and shackles. You could have heard a pin drop. It was incredibly solemn. Everyone in the room was tearing at that point. Then the judge came in and did a reading of the evidence that the prosecution had. And it's a statement of facts. And the reading of facts was,
These are the essential facts. The defendants, Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson, met Matthew Shepard at the Fireside Bar. Once Mr. Shepard confided that he was gay, both subjects deceived Mr. Shepard into leaving with them in their vehicle to a remote area. Upon arrival at said area, both defendants tied the victim to a buck fence, robbed him, tortured him, and beat him. Later, the next day, officers of the Laramie Police Department contacted the defendants who observed inside the cab of their pickup a credit card, a pair of black, patent leather shoes belonging to the victim, Matthew Shepard.
I don't think there was anyone who was left in that room who wasn't crying by the end of it. I mean, it lasted 5 minutes, but it kept on getting more and more horrific, ending with
Said defendants left the victim begging for his life. Sergeant Hayes.
How could this happen? I think a lot of people just don't understand, and even I don't really understand how someone can do something like this. We have one of the most vocal populations of gay people in the state, and it's pretty much live and let live.
Laramie resident Jeffrey Lockwood.
My secret hope was that they were from somewhere else. That you could create this distance. We don't grow children like that here. Well, it's pretty clear that we do grow children like that here.
that was the arraignment. And my reaction? Pretty catatonic. Not eating, not sleeping. Don't you know? Don't leave me alone right now.
More and more details about the sheer brutality, motivations, how it happened. And quite frankly, the media descended and there was no time to reflect on it anymore.
A young man is in a deep coma, near death, from a savage beating.
Beaten, tied to a fence, and left for dead in Wyoming.
Excuse me, could you tell me where you're from?
Let me ride on it.
By this point, I looked out there, and where there had been 2 or 3 reporters, there were now 10 or 20 still photographers, another 20 or 30 reporters, and 10 video cameras. The parents had just arrived. I had barely introduced myself to them, and I looked out there and I thought, my God, what am I going to do? Matthew Shepard was admitted in critical condition at approximately 9:15 p.m. October 7th. When he arrived, he was unresponsive, and breathing support was being provided. Matthew's major injuries upon arrival consisted of hypothermia and a fracture from behind his head to just in front of his right ear. This has caused bleeding in the brain as well as pressure on the brain. There were also several lacerations on his head, face, and neck. Matthew's temperature has fluctuated over the past 24 hours, ranging from 98 to 106 degrees. We have had difficulty controlling his temperature. Matthew's parents arrived at 7 p.m. October 9th and are now at his bedside. The following is a statement from them. First of all, we want to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and concern for Matthew. We greatly appreciate your praise, and we know that they are something Matthew would appreciate too. We also have a special request for the members of the media. Matthew is very much in need of his family at this time, so we ask that you respect our privacy as well as his, so we can concentrate all our efforts, thoughts, and love on our son. Thank you very much.
Both Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson pled not guilty to their charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Paisley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty after being charged accessories after the fact. On our next trip, we spoke to the chief investigating officer on the case, Detective Rob Debris of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
I guess the thing that bothered me most was going down to Cooter Valley where Matthew was. And the thing that bothered me the most was seeing him, touching him. As a homicide detective, you look at bodies. This boy is there, fighting all his life, trying to make it. I just wanted it so by the book, you know?
I keep seeing that picture in my head when I found him. Air crackles. And it's not pleasant whatsoever. I don't want it to be there. I want to, get it out. And that's the biggest part for me, is seeing that picture in my head. And it's kind of unbelievable to me, that I happen to be the person that found him. Because the biggest question for me, with my religion, is why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself, and I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Connolly.
So what that means is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the street, seeing a truck do a U-turn and thinking it's coming after me, having to stop because I'm shaking so bad. And in fact, that pickup truck did not come after me, but my reaction was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I did have an opportunity.
Matt Galloway.
If I had amazing hindsight of 2020 to have stopped what occurred. And I keep thinking, I should have noticed. These guys shouldn't have been with that guy. I should have not had my head down when I was washing dishes for those 20 seconds. Things I could have done. What the hell was I thinking?
One of the things that happened when I got to the fence,
Reggie Flutie.
it was just such an overwhelming amount of blood, and we tried to wear protective gloves, but we had a really cheap sheriff at the time, and he kept buying us shit gloves, so you put them on, and you put them on, and they keep breaking, and eventually you just run out of gloves, so don't hesitate. That's what your mind always tells you, so you don't hesitate, and you try and find Matthew an airway, and that's just what you do,
The thing I wasn't telling you before is that Reggie's my daughter.
Marge Murray.
when she first told us that she wanted to be a police officer, well, I thought, it's not a better job for her, you know? She can handle anything they throw her way.
About a day and a half later, I got a call from the hospital that told me Matthew had HIV. And the doctor said, you've been exposed and you've had a bad exposure. You see, I've been building a lean-to for my llamas, so my hands had a bunch of little cuts on them. So I was kind of screwed, you know? You think, oh, shoot, you know?
You want to talk about losing sleep?
So I said, okay, what do I do? And they said, get over here. So I got over there and they started pumping the AZT drugs immediately.
See, they told us that there's this medication that if it's administered 36 hours after the exposure, that maybe it can stop you from getting the disease.
That is a mean, nasty medicine. Mean. I've lost 10 pounds and a lot of my hair.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I wanted to lash out at someone, you know? And not Matthew. Please understand, none of us were mad at Matthew. Maybe we wanted to squeeze McKinney's head off, you know? Two absolute human beings cause so much pain and suffering for so many people. And it's been hard for my whole family, you know? But mostly for her and her two others.
I think it brought home to my girls what their mom does for a living.
And you know what I'm going to tell you now, Reggie.
And my parents, you know, they both said the same damn thing.
You are quitting this damn job.
And it's just a parent thing, you know, because they're awfully proud of you, whether it's handling a drunk or handling a case like this. They just don't want you getting hurt.
Like I said, there's the wrong way, the right way, and the Reggie way.
So I finally said, oh God, lighten up, Francis.
You are so stubborn.
They call me stubborn, and I don't believe them. You know, I've had your opinion, and now here's mine. I'm 39 years old. What are they gonna do? Spank me?
Don't give me any ideas.
It'd look pretty funny. You know, what can they do?
I just hope she doesn't go before me, you know? I don't think I can handle that.
University of Wyoming President Philip Dubois.
Well, this is a young person who read my statement on the Denver Post and sent me an email directly, which said,
You and the straight people of Laramie, Wyoming are guilty of the death of Matthew Shepard, just as the Germans who look the other way are guilty of the death of the Jews, the gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate the gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. Unless and until you can acknowledge that Matthew Shepard's death was not just a random occurrence, not just the work of a couple of random crazies, you have Matthew's blood in your hands.
and you can't possibly know what this does to me. You can't possibly know what I'm thinking. You can't possibly know what this does to me, my family, my community.
Were held around the country last night. There are expressions
around the country, Denver, Los Angeles, Wake, Chicago, Washington, 5,000, Atlanta, Nashville, Minneapolis, the country, and around San Francisco, all expressing hopes for Matthew's recovery.
I can't stop crying. This is what I was trying to stop.
We must do more to deal with violent bigotry, hate crimes.
I hope that in the grief of this moment, and the shared outrage across America, Americans will once again search their hearts and do what they can to reduce their own fear and anxiety and anger at people who are different.
That first week alone, vigils for Matthew Shepard were held in Laramie, Denver, Fort Collins, and Colorado Springs. Soon after, in Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Nashville, Minneapolis, and Portland, Maine, among others. In Los Angeles, 5,000 people gathered, and in New York, a political rally ended in civil disobedience and hundreds of arrests. And the Poudre Valley Hospital website received close to 1 million visitors from across the country and around the world, all expressing hope for Matthew's recovery.
Matthew Shepard, medical update, 9 a.m. Sunday, October 11th. As of 9 a.m. today, Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that the media respect their privacy. The family also wants to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and concern for Matthew.
There are certain things that when I sit in church,
Jedediah Schultz.
and the Reverend will tell you flat out, he does not agree with homosexuality. And I just think I'm still learning things about myself, and I don't know enough about certain things to say that homosexuality is right when I've been told my whole life that it's wrong. And yeah, I'd say that I don't agree with it. That I don't agree with it, but maybe that's just because I couldn't do it. And speaking in religious terms, I don't think that's how God intended it to happen, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be persecuting the other person or anything like that. And it's not going to get in the way of me or the other person at all.
Well, it's pretty sure schools that being gay is okay. Yeah.
Conrad Miller.
But if my kids ask me, I sit them down and I tell them, well, this is what they do. This is what animals do. And I tell them, well, this is the lifestyle. And I'd say, this is why I believe it's wrong.
There's more gay people around than what you think. Murdoch Cooper. It doesn't bother anybody because most of them that are gay or lesbian, they know damn well who to talk to. If you step out of line, you're asking for it. Some people are saying he made a pass out. You don't pick up regular people. I'm not excusing their actions, but it made me feel better because it was partially Matthew Shepard's fault and partially the guys who did it, you know. Maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I was more concerned for my safety.
Zachy Simmons.
I think we all were, and it's because we knew that that could have been us. And I'm afraid to walk down the street and display any sort of affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
Well, there's this whole idea. You leave me alone and I'll leave you alone.
Jonas Lineker.
And it's even some of the Western literature. Live in. Let live. You know, that is such crap! I tell my friends that, and even my gay friends are there sometimes, and I'm like, that is such crap. Basically, what it boils down to is, if I don't tell you I'm a fag, then she won't beat the crap out of me? I mean, what's so great about that? That's a great philosophy?
We went to the candle vigil,
Zubaida Ullah.
and it felt so good to be around people who felt like shit. And I kept feeling like I don't deserve to feel this bad, you know? And then this man who got up on stage started speaking blah, 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 blah. And then he said, I'm saying it wrong, but he basically said, come on, guys! Let's show the world that Laramie isn't that kind of town! But it is that kind of town. If it wasn't that kind of town, then why did it happen here? Like you know what I mean? Because that's a lie, because it happened here. So how could it not be that type of town? And now we have to mourn this, and we have to be sad that we live in a town, say country, where shit like this happens. And I mean, these are people who are trying to distance themselves away from this crime. When I feel like we need to own this. Because we are like this. We are like this. We are like this.
I was at the Fireside Bar one afternoon, and I ran into two friends of Aaron McKinney, Shannon and Jen. You guys knew Aaron well, right?
Yeah, we both did. I mean, when I first found out, I thought it was really awful. I don't know whether Aaron was fucked up or whether it was coming down the road, but Matthew had a lot of money. She had better clothes than I did. Matthew was a little rich bitch.
You shouldn't call him a rich bitch, though. That's not right.
Well, I'm not saying he's a bad guy either. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, said the wrong things. I mean, I don't know. I won't blame you. There was times that I was like messed up on meth and thought about going out and robbing. I mean, I never did, but yeah, it was there. It's easy money.
Aaron's done that thing before. They've both done it. I think one time they went down to Cheyenne and they came up with like $300. And you know, I don't know if they choose gay people as their particular targets, but you know, if you looked like you had a lot of money and you were, well, easy to outnumber or overpower, you were fair game.
Do you think there was any homophobia involved at all that contributed to some of it?
Probably. It probably pissed Aaron off that Matthew was gay. He doesn't really like him. The gay people I have seen him interact with, he was fine, you know, as long as the whole gay thing didn't come up, as long as, you know, they didn't make a pass at him.
As long as they weren't doing it in front of him.
Do you get the impression that he knew other gay people?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knew people that are gay. I mean, the worst about it, I've seen there was a couple of people out there that, yeah. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, because I don't know. Half the people I know here in Laramie are gay.
What would you guys say to Aaron if you saw him right now?
I'd ask him if he ever saw anyone tweak.
If I saw Aaron right now, I'd probably be like, man, why'd you fuck up like that? You know, I'd probably want to make sure he's alright. I mean, I bet he is. Honestly, I just want to hang out with him.
Smoke a bowl with him?
Maybe he wants him so bad!
You guys both went to Laramie High?
Yeah, can't you tell? We're a product of our society.
On a day that is traditionally given over to nothing more profound than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team, this community on the High Plains had a different kind of homecoming Saturday, as many searched their souls in the wake of a vicious, apparent anti-gay hate. University President Philip Dubois.
This was homecoming weekend. There were a lot of people in town, and there's this homecoming parade scheduled. And the students decided to tag on to the back of it. You know, a banner supporting Matt.
I live in the center of town, Prairie Woods, and Mount Market has windows on two opposite streets. One goes north, and one goes south. And that's exactly the homecoming parade route. Now, on the day of the parade, I had a cast on my leg because of the fall, so I was very disappointed because I really wanted to walk with the people who were marching for Matthew. But I couldn't. So I watched from my window. And it was just, I'm 52 years old and I'm gay. I've lived here for many years and I've seen a lot. And I was very moved when I saw the tag at the end of the parade. About 100 people were walking behind the banner for Matthew Shepard. Well, then the parade went down to the end of the block to make a U-turn. And I went to the other side of my apartment to watch it come south down the other street. Well, about 10 minutes went by. And sure enough, the parade started coming down the street. And then I noticed the most incredible thing. Parade came down the street. The number of people walking for Matthew had grown 5 times. There were about 500 people marching for Matthew. 500. Can you imagine? The parade at the end was larger. And you know what? I started to cry. Tears were streaming down my face and I thought, to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought was, thank you, Matthew.
highway patrolman, so that's really the only way that I've known about it. Now, when I first found out, I just thought it was horrible. I can't. Nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are. But the other thing that was not brought up, at the same time that happened, a patrolman was killed. And there was nothing. Nothing. They didn't say anything about the old man that killed him. He was driving down the road, and he should not have been driving, and he killed him. We lost one of our guys, and it was just a little piece of the paper. You know, my husband, he worked with them. This man was brand new on the force. I mean, here is one of our own. And it's a little piece in the paper. And, I mean, yes, I do believe that I think that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard out to be a saint and making him out to be a martyr. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was that pure. Now, I didn't know him, but there were just so many things that I found out about him. We all know about his character and spreading AIDS and a few other things, just being the kind of person he was. You know, Matthew, he was a bar flat, and I think he pushed himself around. I think that he flaunted it. Everybody's got problems, but why they exemplified him, I don't know. What's the difference if you're gay? A hate crime is a hate crime. You murder somebody, you hate them. It is nothing to do with if you're gay or a prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I really just don't understand.
This is one of our last days on our second trip to Laramie. Craig and I have been conducting interviews since we first got here, and we are exhausted.
We are to meet Father Roger at 7:30 in the morning. I was wishing we could skip it all together, but we have to follow through to the end. So, here we go. 7:30 a.m. to queers and a Catholic priest.
Matthew Shepard has served us well. He has served us well. You realize that. And I do not mean to condemn Matthew to perfection, but I cannot mention anyone who's done more for this community than Matthew Shepard. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I was just this old guy, no fear. I was scared. I was very vocal in this community when this first happened. And I thought, you know, should we call the bishop and ask his permission to do the vigil? And I thought, hell no, I am not going to do that. His permission does not make it correct. You realize that. And I'm not knocking bishops, but what is correct is correct. You people are just out here on a search, though. I will do this. I will trust you people that if you write a play of this, that you say it right. Say it correct. I think you have a responsibility to do that. Don't make matters worse. You think violence is what they did to Matthew. They did do violence to Matthew, but do you realize that every time you are called a fag, or every time you are called Les
or dyke.
Dyke! Yeah, dyke. You realize that is violence.
seed of violence. And I would resent it immensely if you were to use anything I say to somehow cultivate that kind of violence, even in its smallest form. I would resent it immensely.
Thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. You know what is true. You need to do your best to say it correct.
Reverend,
Yes. Hello.
I believe your wife told you I'd be contacting you.
Yes, she told me. I don't think that I want to talk to anyone about this incident. I'm somewhat involved, and I just don't think
I
that...
completely understand, and I don't blame you. You know, I went to your service on Sunday.
You went to my service? On Sunday?
Yes, I did.
On Sunday?
Yes, this past Sunday.
Did I meet you?
Yes, you welcomed me at the beginning, I believe.
I see. Well, let me tell you this. I'm not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind. And this is not a views of my congregation, per se. Now, as I said, I am somewhat involved that the people in the case, well, the girlfriend of the accused, is a member of our congregation and one of the accused has visited. Now, as for the accused, they forfeited their lives. We've been after the two I mentioned for ages, trying to get them to live right, to do right. One of the boys is on suicide watch, and I'm working with him. Now, until they put him on a chair and they turn on the juice, I will work for his salvation. I do believe they deserve the death penalty, but I will deal with them spiritually.
Right, I understand.
Now, as for the victim, I know that lifestyle is legal, but let me tell you this. I hope that Matthew Shepard, as he was tied to the fence, he had a time to reflect on a moment someone had spoken the word of the Lord to him. As before he slipped to a coma, he reflected on his lifestyle.
Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate your speaking with me.
About 11:30 that night, I had just barely gone to bed, and Margot, our chief operating officer, calls and says, his blood pressure has started to drop. Well, let's wait and see. She calls me about 10 after. He just died. And so I quickly get dressed and I come into the ICU where the family was. And Judy comes up to me and she puts her arms around me and I put my arms around her and we just stood there. Honestly, for about 10 minutes. Because what else do you do? And then we had to sit and talk about things that you just... Dennis, it's now public knowledge. We have to go out there and tell the whole world that this has happened. Because by this point, it was clear to us that it was the world. It was the whole world. So Judy tells me what she wants me to say, and I go out at 4:00 a.m. At 12 midnight, on Monday, October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. We immediately notified his family, who was already at the hospital. At 12:53 a.m., Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside. The family did release the following statement. The family again wanted me to express their sincerest gratitude for the entire world, for the overwhelming response for their son. The family was grateful that they did not have to make a decision regarding whether or not to continue life support for their son. Like a good son, he was caring until the end and removed any stress or guilt from the family.
He came into the world premature and left the world premature. Matthew's mother said, "Go home." Go home. Give your kids a hug. And don't let a day go by without telling them that you love them. And I don't know how I let that happen. I lost it on national television. But you know, we had been up for like 72 hours straight, and I had gone home and gone to sleep for maybe 30 minutes and had to come back and come in. And I don't know, maybe I was just waiting. I don't know. But when I was out there reading that statement, I thought of my own 4 daughters and go home. Give your kids a hug. And she didn't have her kid anymore. And here I am thinking, this is so lame. And then we started to get these emails and letters. People wrote to us, and most of them were generally very kind. But I did get this one. This one guy wrote to me and said, "Do you cry on national television for all your patients or just the faggots?" And as I mentioned before, homosexuality is not a lifestyle with which I agree. But having been thrown into this whole thing, I guess I just didn't understand the magnitude with which some people hate. And of all the letters, there were maybe 2 or 3 that were like that. The rest were generally very kind. They wrote, "Thank you for your caring and compassion." And Matthew had caring and compassion from the moment he got here.
I spoke with Doc today and told him we would soon be coming back out for the upcoming trials of Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. And this is what he had to say.
I tell you what, if they put those 2 boys to death, that would defeat everything Matt would be thinking about on her. Because Matt would want them to live. He'd want to leave them with hope. H-O-P-E. Just like the whole world hoped that Matt would survive. This whole thing, you see, this whole thing ropes around hope. H-O-P-E.
The day of the funeral, it was snowing so bad, big, huge, wet snowflakes, and when I got there, there were thousands of people in just black with umbrellas everywhere. And there were 2 churches, one for the immediate family, invited guests, people of that nature, and then one church for everybody else who wanted to be there. And then still, hundreds of people outside that couldn't fit into either of the churches. And there was a big park by the church. That's where these people were, and this park was full.
The liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds meaning in the resurrection. The service invites your full participation. The Lord is with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray.
And I guess this has been like the worst storm that they had ever had.
Tiffany Edwards.
Like, trees fell down and the power went out a couple of days because of it. And I thought to myself, it's like the forces of the universe at work. You know? Whatever
it talks about God's hate.
Yeah! A bunch of high schoolers who got out of school early came over and started yelling at the people in the protest. The Fred Phelps people, and people were lining up from across the street for the funeral. And I remember this guy. He walked into the crowd, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be an ugly confrontation, but instead...
Amazing grace.
How sweet. We wouldn't be here if this is just another murder the state was going to deal with. Yeah! The state uses hundreds of murders every single day. Yeah! But this murder is different because the facts are bringing us trying to make Matthew Shepard into a poster boy for the gay lifestyle. Yeah! And we're going to answer it. It's just that simple.
But now I see.
6 weeks later, the company returned to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the accused. When they arrived to the County Laramie courthouse, Fred Phelps was already there.
You don't like that attribute of God?
But so was Romaine Patterson.
That perfect attribute of God? Well, we love that attribute of God. We are going to preach it. Amen! Because God's hatred is a determination. It's a determination that He's going to send some people to hell. Yeah! That's God's hatred.
After seeing Fred Phelps protesting in Matthew's funeral and finding out that he was coming back to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, I decided someone needed to stand toe-to-toe with this guy, show the differences. And at times like this, when we're talking about hatred as much as the nation is right now, there needs to be someone to show that there is a better way of dealing with that kind of hatred. So our idea is to dress up like angels, and we've designed these angel costumes, and for our wings are huge. They're like big-ass wings, and there's going to be a bunch of us dressed up like angels, and what we're going to do is we're going to encircle Phelps, and because of our big wings, we're going to completely block him. And we are a group of people with a message of peace and love and compassion. And we're calling it Angel Action. Yeah, this 21-year-old little lesbian's ready to walk the line with him.
We are standing here with God's message. We are standing here with God's message. Is homosexuality, is being a fag okay? No! If being a fag was so okay, then why does the Lord send him to hell? Why? You now see the barrenness and sterility of your silly arguments when set up against some solid gospel truth. Barren and sterile. Like your lifestyle. When those old preachers lay their hands upon me, it's called an ordination.
you know, everyone was coming to my shop with, I really don't want to be on this trial. I hope they didn't call me, or just been called how to get off. Just trying to get as far from it as they could. Very fearful that they're gonna have to be on that jury. And I heard that Henderson had to sit in the courtroom while they questioned prospective jurors. And one of the questions they ask is, would you be willing to put this person to death? And I understand that a lot of the comments were yes, I would.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you can imagine hearing that. Juror after juror after juror.
Mr. Henderson, you entered a not guilty plea earlier, but I understand that you wish to change that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You do understand that the recommended sentencing here is 2 life terms?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that those may run concurrently, or those may run consecutively?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henderson, I will now ask you how you wish to plead. Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Now, before the court decides whether the sentencing will be concurrent or consecutive, I understand that there are statements to be made by at least one individual.
This is an excerpt from a statement made to the court by Lucy Thompson.
As the grandmother and person who helped raise Russell, along with my family, we've written the following statement. Our heart aches for the pain and suffering that the Shepards have went through. We have prayed for your family since the very beginning, and many times throughout the day I've thought about that, and you will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers, for we know that your pain will never go away. You have shown us such mercy in allowing us to have this plea, and we are grateful that you are giving us all the opportunity to live. Your Honor, we as a family hope that as you sentence Russell today, you will do it concurrently 2 life terms. For the Russell that we know and love, we plead, Your Honor, to not take Russell completely out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, it is your constitutional right to make a statement if you wish to do so. Do you have anything you would like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Shepard, not a moment goes by where I don't see what happened that night. I know what I did was wrong, and I regret greatly for what I did. You have the greatest sympathy for what happened that night. And I hope one day you'll find it in your hearts to forgive me. Your Honor, I know what I did was wrong. I am very sorry for that. And I am ready to pay debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove the vehicle that took Matthew Shepard to his death. You bound him to that fence in order that he may be more savagely beaten and not escape to tell his tale. You left him out there for 18 hours, perhaps having an opportunity to save his life. But you did nothing. Mr. Henderson, this court does not believe that you feel any true remorse for your part in the matter. In fact, I wonder whether you understand the gravity of what you've done. Court finds it appropriate, therefore, that sentencing be ordered as follows. On count 3, being felony murder with robbery, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. On count 1, being kidnapping, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for
run consecutively to count 3.
After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon home teacher.
I've known Russell for 38 years. Russell's only 21, so I've known him his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Mormon church, so you can imagine when this happened, disbelief. After the sentencing, the church held a disciplinary council. The result of that meeting was to excommunicate Russell from the church. And what that means is that his name will now be taken off all of our church records. Russell did not react positively to this. It hurt him, and it hurt him to realize how serious a transgression he had committed. But I will not desert Russell. That's a matter of my religion and my friendship with the family.
Before we left Laramie, we met again with Rebecca Hiller at the theater department. She's producing Angels in America this year at the universities.
I think that's the focus that the university is taking, is that we have a lot of work left to do, that we have an obligation to find ways to reach our students. But the question is, how do we move? How do we reach a whole state where there really is some deep-seated hostility towards gays? How do we reach them? Well, this is the beginning. And guess who's auditioning for the lead? Jedediah Schultz.
My parents were like, so what plays you in school this year? And I was like, Angels in America. And I went through the whole list of plays, and they're like, Angels in America. The play you did in high school. The scene that you did in high school. And I was like, yeah. Like, are you an audition for it? And I was like, yeah.
And we got in this huge argument, and the best thing that I know happened was this was just after performance of Macbeth I was in, and I like killed a little kid on stage, and like an example, and these 2 other guys. And Mom keeps going, you know that homosexuality is a sin. And I'm like, Mom, you just saw me play a murderer tonight. You didn't seem to have a problem with that.
I'll tell you, I never prepared so much for an audition in my life. Never, ever, not once.
So you're tested every 3 months.
Reggie Flutie.
And I was able to have the DNA test done. So I went down to Fort Collins, they drew the blood there, flew that up to Michigan, had the DNA work done, and which was about a week later, I knew I was negative for good.
I'll tell you, we were all on our knees saying Hail Marys.
You're just so elated, you know, when you think, thank God. So what does she do? I stuck my tongue right down my husband's mouth. You're just so happy, you know, you're just so happy. And I thought, I hope I did this service well. You know, I hope I did it with some sort of integrity. So you're just so happy, and my daughter's just bald. They were so happy. And the force, we went out and got shit-faced. they were all buying me drinks too. It was great, and we were all hugging and crying, and you know, I kissed everyone who walked through that door.
Reggie, they don't need to know that.
It didn't matter if they were male or female, they each got a kiss on the lips.
What part of what I just said did you not understand?
Oh, get over it, Mom.
Almost a year to the day that Matthew Shepard died, the trial for Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
The question that most of you probably have in your mind right now is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Cal Baruka, prosecuting attorney.
And this is determined by the county attorney's office that it will definitely be a death penalty case. Part of me wants McKinney to get it. I'm not very proud of that. I've been on and off and on. I can't say what I would do. I'm too personally involved.
Oh, I believe in the death penalty 100%. Because, you know, I want to make sure that guy's ass dies. This is one instance where I truly believe, and
death penalty. It's too much for me. I don't believe that one person should be killed as redemption for his having killed another. Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the Shepards want McKinney dead? I can't interfere in that. But on a personal level, I knew Aaron in grade school. We never called him Aaron. He was AJ. How can I put AJ McKinney to death?
I think right now our most important teachers must be Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. They have to be. How did you learn? What did we as a society do to teach you that? See, I don't think many people will let them be their teacher. I think it would be wonderful if the judge said, in addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. State of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney, docket 6381. The Honorable Barton R. White presiding. The court is in session.
During the trial of Aaron James McKinney, the prosecution played a taped recording of his confession.
This is Rob Debris, Sergeant for the Sheriff's Office. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in a court of law. Okay, so you and Russ went to the fireside. So you're at the fireside by yourselves, right?
Yeah?
Where do you go after you leave the fireside?
Some kid wanna ride home.
What did he look like?
Like a queer.
He looked like a queer?
Yeah, like a fag, you know?
Okay. How did you meet him?
He said he wanted to ride home, and I said, well, the dude's drunk, let's take him home.
When did you and Russ talk about jacking him up?
We kind of talked about it at the bottom.
Okay, what happened next?
We drove him out past Walmart. When we got out there, he started grabbing my leg and grabbing my genitals, and I said, look, I'm not a fucking faggot. And if you touch me again, you're gonna get it. And I don't know what the hell he was thinking, but I beat him up. Pretty bad. I think I killed him.
What did you beat him with?
Blacked out. My fist, my pistol, my butt of my gun under it. What happened to me? Because I had a few drinks that night, you know, but I don't know. It felt like I could watch it all go down, you know, but I don't know. It felt like somebody else was doing it.
What was the first thing Matthew said or did inside the truck that made you hit him?
He put his hand on my leg and slid his hand up my leg like he was trying to grab my balls.
When the defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew made a pass at him, I just wanted to vomit. That's why I'm saying that's okay. It's like that Twinkie defense when that guy killed Holly Milk in Muskogee. It's the same damn thing.
As much as a part of me didn't want them to use gay bashing or gay panic during the trial, when they did, a part of me was grateful because I was so scared they would try to say it was a robbery or it was about drugs. So when the defense said gay panic, I thought, this is good. If nothing else, the truth will be told. The truth is gonna come out.
Did he ever hit you in any way or defend himself against you?
Yeah, he tried his little swings or whatever, but they weren't very effective.
How many times did you hit him before you stopped where you left him?
About 2 or 3 times, probably 3 times with the fist and 6 times with the pistol.
So Russ dragged him over to the fence, I'm assuming, and tied him up.
Yeah. All I remember is Russ was laughing at first, but as he went on, he got kind of scared.
Was Matthew conscious when Russ tied him up?
Yeah. Yeah, I told him to turn around and don't look at my license plate. Because I was scared he'd call the police, right? But then I told him to turn around and read what the license plate said. He read it back. That's when I hit him a few more times.
Just to be sure. So, obviously you don't like gay people.
No. I don't.
Would you say you hate them?
I wouldn't say I hate them. But when they start coming on to me, I get pretty aggravated.
Did he threaten you?
This gay dude?
Yeah.
Not really.
Can you answer me one thing? Why did you guys take his shoes?
I don't know. Now I'll never get to see my son again.
I don't know. You'll probably go to court sometime today.
Today? I'm going to plead guilty or not guilty today?
No, you're just going to be arraigned for today.
And, is he gonna die?
There is no doubt that Mr. Shepard is going to die.
So what now? They're gonna give me a 25 to life or just a death penalty and get all over it?
That's not our job. That's the judge's job and the jury.
Yes, we have, Your Honor. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled case, having well and truly tried the matter, unanimously find as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of first-degree felony murder, kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
Aaron McKinney was found guilty of felony murder, which meant the jury could give him the death penalty. That night, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who pled for their client's life. The prosecution indicated that they would defer to the family's wishes as to whether or not to pursue the death penalty. The following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here is some of what he said.
My son, Matthew, did not look like a winner. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day he died. However, in his all too brief life, he proved that he was a winner. On October 6th, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero tried to show the world that he could win again. On October 12th, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero lost. On October 12th, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero died. 50 days before his 22nd birthday. keep wondering the same things that I did when I first saw him in the hospital. What would he have become? How could he have changed his piece of the world to make it better? Matt officially died in a hospital in Fort Collins, Colorado. Matt actually died on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKee, with your friend Mr. Henderson, left him out there by himself. But he wasn't alone. There were his lifelong friends with him. Friends that he had grown up with. You're probably wondering who these friends were. First, he had the beautiful night sky and the same stars and moon that we used to see through a telescope. Then he had the daylight and the sun to shine on him. And through it all, he was breathing in the scent of pine trees from the snowy range. He heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind, for the last time. He had one more friend with him. He had God. And I feel better knowing he wasn't alone. Matt's beating, hospitalization, and funeral has focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of evil. People are saying enough is enough. I miss my son. But I am proud to be able to say that he is my son. Judy has been quoted as being against the death penalty. It has been stated that Matt was against the death penalty. Both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed that there were crimes and incidents which justify the death penalty. I too believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing better than to see you die, Mr. McKinney. However, this is the time to begin the healing process. To show mercy to someone who refused to show any mercy. Mr. McKinney, I am going to grant you life. As hard as it is for me to do so, because of Matthew. Every time you celebrate Christmas, a birthday, the 4th of July, remember that Matt isn't! Every time you wake up in your prison cell, remember that you had the opportunity and the ability to stop your actions that night. You robbed me of something very precious. And I will never forgive you for that. Mr. McKinney, I give you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. May you live a long life. And may you thank Matthew every day for it.
Me and Dabeer hugged and cried. And you know, everybody had tears in their eyes and you're just so thankful. And Mr. Shepard was crying and that had me bawling and just maybe we can move on and quit being so stuck, you know?
It just hit me today. The minute that I got out of that courthouse. That the reason God wanted me to find him is for that he didn't have to die alone out there. And if I wouldn't have came
just glad it's over. I really am. Testifying for that trial was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And don't get me wrong, I love the stage. But it's tricky because basically what you have is lawyers questioning you from this angle, but the answers need to be funneling this way to the jury. So what you have to do is establish a funneling system. And that's hard for me because I'm a natural conversationalist. So it's just natural instinct that when someone asks you a question, you look at that person to make eye contact. But it's tough when you literally have to scoot over, change your position, in effect, funnel over to where the jury is. But I was able to do that.
On our last trip, I had the good fortune of seeing Jen and Ashall play the role of Fire Angels in America. After performance, we spoke.
I never really let myself get involved in the whole Matthew Shepard thing. It seems so blown out of proportion. It was a name and not an individual. I don't know, it's weird. It's so weird, man. Like, I can't believe that I ever thought or felt or said those things about homosexuals. Like, how did I ever let myself believe that that made you any different from me?
This is Romaine Patterson.
Well, a year ago I wanted to be a rock star. That was my goal. And well, now it's obviously changed in the fact that throughout the last year I really realized my role in taking my part. And so instead of going to school to be in music, I'm going to go for communications and political science because I have a career in political activism. Actually, I just recently found out that I was going to be honored in Washington, D.C. from the Anti-Defamation League. And whenever I think of the angels or any of the speaking that I've done, you know, Matthew gave me. Matthew was like guiding this little path, his light for me to walk down. And every time we get to like a door, he opens it and he just says, okay, next step. And if I get to be a rock star on the side, okay.
This is Jonas Loneker.
You know, change is not an easy thing, and I don't think they were up for it here. They got what they wanted. Those two boys got what they deserved, and we look good now. Justice has been served. The OK Corral. We shut down the villains and we set the prosecutions on the trains. Town's cleaned up and we don't need to talk about it anymore. You know, it's been a year. Matthew Shepard died, and they haven't got shit in Wyoming. At a state level, any town, anywhere, nobody has passed any kinds of laws or anti-discrimination laws or hate crime legislation. Nobody has done anything anywhere. So what's come out of this, huh? What's come out of this that's concrete or lasting?
We all said we would meet again. One last time at the fence.
We've spent the past few days packing a year's worth of material and saying our goodbyes. We've been here a total of 6 times and conducted over 200 interviews. Marge wished us luck, and when we asked how Laramie would feel about seeing a play themselves, she said,
I think they'd enjoy it, you know? The show, it's really not how people love them. But that's up to how you portray it. And in turn, it's up to how Laramie behaves.
We left Laramie at 7 in the evening. On the way to Denver, I took one last look on the town in my rearview mirror.
I've been up to that side of my limousine, all right? time Matt and I drove around together, he says, Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? And where he was up there, if you were to say exactly where he was up there, Laramie does sparkle from there with the low-lying cloud. It's the blue light from the airports that's bouncing off the clouds, but it just goes. Right over the whole city. I mean, it blows you away. And Matt was up there. I can just picture in his eyes. I can just picture what he was seeing. The last thing Matt saw on this earth were the sparkling lights of Laramie, Wyoming.
When I was in the 3rd grade, I thought that I was gay, 'cause I could draw, my uncle was, and I kept my room straight. I told my mom, tears rushing down my face. She's like, Ben, you've loved girls since before pre-K. Trippin'. Yeah, I guess she had a point, didn't she? A bunch of stereotypes all in my head. I remember doing the math, like, yeah, I'm good at Little League. A preconceived idea of what it all meant for those who like the same sex. Had the characteristics, the right-wing conservatives think it's a decision, and you can be cured with some treatment and religion. Man-made rewiring of a predisposition, playing God. Nah, here we go. America the brave still fears what we don't know, and God loves all his children, somehow forgotten. But we paraphrase a book written 3,500 years ago. I don't know. And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. Kids are walking around the hallway, plagued by pain in their heart. A world so hateful, someone would rather die than be who they are. And a certificate on paper isn't gonna solve it all, but it's a damn good place to start. No law's gonna change us, we have to change us. Whatever God you believe in, we come from the same one. Strip away the fear, underneath it's all the same love. About time that we raised up.